Greetings, I'm Salvador Cordova. Welcome to the Evidence and Reasons for the Christian Faith video channel. Today's segment is classified under the general category of random thoughts and news items. This presentation today was based on a news article that I had written 8 years ago, and I'll provide the link to the original article that I wrote in 2013 on a blog called Uncommon Descent. And I revisited that blog and looked at some of the things I wrote, and I realized it was relevant to some of the things that have happened recently, especially my debate with Matt Dillahunty, whom I personally classify as an anti-theist. So let's look at let me bring up my slideshow. I had just a little slideshow today. And let's look at the topic. The headline, the thumbnail for today's topic, and let me share my screen, is Christopher Silver. Christopher Silver. He's the author of a study, and the study concludes that anti-theists are angry, narcissistic, unagreeable, antisocial dogmatists. Now, if anyone thinks that this is too harsh, let me introduce you to Christopher Silver. You can visit his research at www.atheismresearch.com. And he's not a theist as far as I can tell. So let's go visit his website, and I'll read a description about Christopher Silver. I'll cover a little bit of it. Christopher F. Silver served as board member of the Chattanooga Free Thought Association for 2 years. He currently served, now this is a little bit dated because this was in 2013 or so. He currently served as the public relations co-chair for the Chattanooga Free Thought Association. By the way, these are not Christian organizations. Free thought usually means atheists and agnostics. He has assisted in organizing and scheduling speakers for Skeptics in the Pub, a lecture debate series in Chattanooga. Mr. Silver also serves as the faculty advisor to UTC Secular Student Alliance. Mr. Silver's research has focused on a variety of topics, including religious deconversion, spirituality, new religious movements, and research theory. He has co-authored a variety of academic publications and has served as a speaker for different types of groups. He is currently completing his doctoral degree in learning and leadership from University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, where he teaches psychology courses in research methods and tests and measurements. Now, that was about 8 years ago. He has his own website now, and I'm pleased to announce, because I already admire this gentleman, he is Dr. Silver now. And you could see the very large lists of accomplishments academic. He has a Bachelor of Science in Psychology, Bachelor of Arts in Religious Studies, Master of Science in Research Psychology, Master of Arts in Religion and Culture, a Doctorate of Education, and then he's also a doctoral candidate in social psychology. He could be a double PhD, he's double master's and a double bachelor's. The guy is brilliant. And so all this to say that when I had made this headline here, Christopher Silver, this isn't just an emotional reaction to how some Christian might have felt he got treated by an anti-theist. This is based on careful psychological research and surveys. And we'll go into the methods and materials, so to speak, of Dr. Silver's research, psychological research. Now, the headline is, albeit slightly, and I emphasize slightly, hyperbolic, my hyperbolic summary of his actual research results. I will let the viewers judge for themselves how much liberty I actually took in making this headline, I don't think I'm far from the mark. Now, to understand the research, Dr. Silver created this typology or profiles of atheists. Now, there are probably many ways to categorize atheists in terms of their psychological profiles, but he felt that these 6 were pretty representative. There is the intellectual atheist, agnostic, the activist, the seeker-agnostic, the anti-theist, the non-theist, and the ritual atheist agnostic. And we can go into that in more detail, but I'm going to focus on the anti-theist. So let's look at what an anti-theist is like according to Dr. Silver. So he describes an anti-theist as, he calls it the 4th typology. Let me see if I can just make this a little bigger so we could see it. Apologies here for me. When I zoomed in, it moved my browser around. Anti-theist, the 4th typology, and one of the more assertive in their view, we termed the anti-theist. While the anti-theists may be considered atheist or in some cases labeled as new atheists, the anti-theist is diametrically opposed to religious ideology. As such, the assertive anti-theist both proactively and aggressively asserts their views towards others when appropriate, seeking to educate the theists in the passé nature of belief and theology. In other words, anti-theists view religion as ignorance and see any individual or institution associated with it as backward and socially detrimental. The anti-theist has a clear and, in their view, superior understanding of the limitations and dangers of religions. They view the logical fallacies of religion as an outdated worldview that is not only detrimental to social cohesion and peace, but also to technological advancement and civilized evolution as a whole. They are compelled to share their view and want to educate others into their ideological position and attempt to do so when and where the opportunity arises. Some anti-theists individuals feel compelled to work against the institution of religion in its various forms, including social, political, and ideological, while others may assert their view with religious persons on an individual basis. The anti-theist believes that the obvious fallacies in religion and belief should be aggressively addressed in some form or another. Based on personalities, some anti-theists may be more assertive than others, but outsiders and friends know very clearly where they stand in relation to an anti-theist. Their worldview is typically not a mystery. The anti-theist's reaction to a religious devotee is often based on social and psychological maturity. I don't know what that last sentence means, but let's focus on the results of the cycle. Apparently what they did, what Dr. Silver and his colleagues did, is they took these typologies. They probably asked them, okay, which group would you most identify with? And then they subjected them to psychological tests. And these are the various tests that were used. You could see it here on the left. This RYFF autonomy scale, RYYF positive scale, scales for narcissism, the Rokeach dogmatism scale, multidimensional anger inventory, the NEO neuroticism subdomain, NEO openness to experience subdomain, and NEO agreeableness subdomain. So let's see where the anti-theists score. Oh my goodness. Look at which typology scores highest in narcissism. Anti-theists. Who are the most dogmatic? Anti-theists. Who are the most angry? Anti-theists. Okay, so was I being unkind when I'm saying they're angry and narcissistic and dogmatists? So I think I was fairly accurate there. Now, Some may agree that perhaps my characterization as them being antisocial is too strong. So yes, on the autonomy scale, they're not the most social people. So on this autonomy scale, the most autonomous people would then be the ones that are not the most social. So maybe that doesn't mean antisocial, but you're not going to get any more antisocial than someone who's scoring high on the autonomy scale. That's how I interpreted it. So I feel there's room to disagree there. And they score lowest in their positive relations with others. Oh my. And that sort of kind of is corroborated with the Anti-Agreeableness subdomain. They score the lowest in agreeableness. So if you have this group of people, guess who are the least agreeable? So I characterize that as unagreeable. If you don't like that, well, there you have it. You can come up with your own words. But there is no question that among the most narcissistic group are the anti-theists. The most dogmatic group are the anti-theists. The most angry in the group are anti-theists. Now, I'd have to say, I don't know that these are really qualities a group of people want to boast about, but hey, whatever floats their boat. So that's how I arrived at my headline. Anti-theists are angry, narcissistic, unagreeable, antisocial dogmatists. So now let's go back to Dr. Silver's research. It might be helpful to look at another typology. And people who know me, and this is my own self-assessment, even though I'm a Christian, my personality type seems to agree very closely with Seeker-Agnostic. Seeker-Agnostic. So even though I'm a Christian, you can probably recognize me in this, Seeker-Agnostic. The third typological characteristic is the Seeker-Agnostic. Seeker-Agnostic typology consists of individuals attuned to the metaphysical possibilities precluding metaphysical existence, or at least recognize the philosophical difficulties and complexities in making personal affirmations regarding ideological beliefs. They may call themselves agnostic or agnostic atheist, as the essay simply cannot be sure of the existence of God or the divine. They keep an open mind in relation to the debate between the religious, spiritual, and anti-theist elements within society. Seeker-agnostics recognize the limitation of human knowledge and experience. They actively search for and respond to knowledge and evidence, either supporting or disconfirming truth claims. They also understand, or at least recognize, the qualitative complexities of experiences in the formation of personal meaning. Seeker-agnostics do not hold a firm ideological position, but always search for the scientifically wondrous and experientially profound confirmation of life's meaning. They may be intrinsically motivated to explore and seek understanding in the world around them. The diversity of others is accepted for the essay, and coexistence with the others is not only possible, but also welcomed. The worldly outlook may be mediated by science. However, they recognize current scientific limitations and embrace scientific uncertainty. They are more comfortable with this uncertainty and even enjoy discussing it. Some intellectual atheist agnostics or anti-theists may accuse the seeker-agnostic of avoiding responsibility or commitment to a more solid affirmation of atheism. In other cases, outsiders may see it as an ontological transitional state from religion or spirituality to atheism. In some cases, seeker-agnostics may generally miss being a believer, either from the social benefits or the emotional connection they have with others, such as friends or family. At times, their intellectual disagreement with their former theology causes some cognitive dissonance, and it is possible they may continue to identify as a religious or spiritual individual. However, taking those exceptions into account, the majority of seeker-agnostics should in no way be considered confused. For the seeker-agnostic, uncertainty is embraced. As I said, this doesn't exactly describe me because I'm a Christian, a professing Christian, but you could, as I read this, I could see much of myself in this description, and I would expect friends would probably describe me. If they took the 6 atheist typologies, they'd say my psychological profile would probably most likely be akin to this category. So now let me stop sharing my screen here. So now you could see basically someone with the temperament of Seeker-Agnostic in a debate with Matt Dillahunty. Now remember, on the scale of just like, kind of like who'd be in that debate the most angry, narcissistic, unagreeable, antisocial dogmatist, it wouldn't be me, it'd be Matt. And that really came to the fore when I simply made the comment that we don't have perfect knowledge. Matt Dillahunty blew up. He said, I didn't say that. That's so dishonest. I'm just like, I wanted to say, dude, chill. I just made the simple statement. But he was just flying off in his fan club. I found out in the comment section, yeah, they said, Sal's so dishonest. You know, that's the most dishonest theist. He's misrepresenting Matt Dillahunty. I didn't misrepresent him. I simply stated a fact. And the guy just flew off the handle. I said, yeah, this guy kind of has some screws loose. He really does fit this. He does fit this typology here. I mean, the guy just kind of went ballistic. And you know, what did I say? I mean, what did I say? I simply said, we don't have perfect knowledge, because this was dealing with Pascal's wager. I was just pointing out a fact. We don't have perfect knowledge, and that we have to make decisions in an environment of uncertainty. And you weigh this kind of a risk-benefit analysis. And the guy just went off on me, saying I was being dishonest and misrepresenting him. And he was just screaming at me, interrupting me. And I'm like, yeah, you know, now looking back, if you look back at that debate, you'll see this is someone who has kind of more a seeker mentality in that debate versus someone who is a narcissist, a dogmatist, someone who's on the top of the scale of anger and not agreeable and not having positive relations with others, being low on that scale. And I said, yeah, that's Matt. That's Matt, and that is many of his acolytes and disciples who just adore him. And they were saying how he won the debate. Well, you know, screaming and yelling, there's a saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So he may have come across as being very authoritative. He may have come across as being very authoritative by kind of trying to put me down with the screaming and that deep voice, and that's just all theater. It's not substance. And as I was dealing with the guy, I actually had some debate coaching. I had someone who'd actually who'd coached debates internationally, and he said, okay, if and he didn't know Matt Dillahunty, but he said, okay, if your opponent, because my coach, Dr. Bob, I call him Dr. Bob, he knows me. He knows that I had substantive arguments, and he knew the opponent probably wouldn't. And he said, okay, Sal, if your opponent, if Matt starts to get angry, keep him angry through the debate. And man, Dillahunty was just losing it, just flying off the handle, making accusations. He accused me of being despicable, dishonest. He said, bite me. I'll give one example where Matt, I asked Matt, I said, if Jesus healed you like that blind beggar in the account of the Gospel of John, and Dillahunty didn't, you know, he wasn't too swift. He just said, oh, you believe it? I said, no, that's not the point of the reason I asked you. I asked you that to show that you're unreasonable. So even if a miracle like that happened to you, you wouldn't trust your life to Jesus. And he took real offense to that. But yet you could find videos on the net where he says, what would change my mind? And he says, I don't, he basically said, well, it'd be kind of hard because I couldn't decide whether it was some alien technology or whether it was God. And so what I said is, if being healed from blindness and you had no options and you wouldn't follow Jesus, then probably nothing will. So what I said was nothing that he hasn't already echoed in his own videos and in his own words. But he took offense. He took offense. He said, that's despicable. That's dishonest. And I'm just saying, I could have said, well, you've basically said as much, that you wouldn't be persuaded. And so, and I gave a whole list of evidences that he might consider. But throughout the debate, I was thinking, this guy's, I'm only going to endure this. I'm not going to go tit for tat and just, when he accuses me of dishonesty, I'm not going to let the debate just kind of devolve into he said, she said. I'll just state my case. But, I really thought as I was discussing this guy, his understanding, his scholarship of the issues was really shallow. I mean, I was thinking this guy's just, he's just such a lightweight intellectually. And I was just like, okay, I'll just endure this and kind of, endure his fan club just saying demeaning remarks. But the guy just didn't have any depth. And I laughed at him when he said he made a living playing craps, which is dice in the casino. I just laughed at him. I said, yeah, that's about the level. And he spent like 10, 15 minutes trying to justify his playing of a casino game where he's going to eventually lose in the long term. And I just like, yeah, I caught him bad on that. I called him out on it, that he's playing a losing game. And that was reflective of his kind of indifference to trying to really examine the issues, because I was offering to explain the math and he said, don't lecture me on this. I made a living playing craps. I just laughed at him, I was thinking, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. And he was just carrying on, and his acolytes and disciples were just thinking he was making a great argument. It's just all theater. There was no substance there. And just also seeing the reactions of some of the people on the net, that they thought he actually performed well, that they thought his saying false things about me were actually ways to win a debate. I find that very unethical, and the approval of the unethical behavior by Matt and his theatrics and his just dastardly behavior. If you think that's good, then it's like, maybe we don't have a relationship anymore. But I'm going to highlight again the characteristics that have been scientifically established of that kind of typology. And I just thought some of you in the audience might be amused that we have scientifically established that these sort of people are angry, narcissistic, unagreeable, antisocial dogmatists. So with that, I'd like to thank you for joining me in this segment. Take care and God bless you.